Glad to have everybody today, and always appreciate when you come and give us some of your concerns. So we'll start out with roll call members.
Greg McManaway,
Present.
Andy Strotty,
Present.
Joel Samuelson,
Present.
Dan Osborne,
Present.
Chester Good. Present. John Miller.
Present.
Bob Cooper. Bob with online.
He won't be here.
Okay. Wayne Payne. Here.
Everybody want to stand and we'll take the flag. We have no flag?
I thought we had one on the stage.
There used to be one. It moved it.
Sorry to represent.
That's all right.
It was probably a state property.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes from March. And I think, didn't we have some minutes that you didn't have from the last meeting, or
Yeah, we had the meeting, we had the regular ones, and then I think we had the ones.
the special meeting on the 31st, or what it was? Do you have those minutes? Did we get those? If not, we'll get it next.
And here you go.
Guys, gonna have to send them out.
All right, we're speaking over you. If everybody's read the minutes. We have a motion to approve. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. I have one change that I think we need to report on the minutes.
Barry, a little closer.
Okay. But on, under the building commissioner report, we put that, Mr. McManaway said he thought the decision of developers of 415 to table their proposal made special meeting, but that should be withdraw that proposal. Just so I keep it straight. I don't think I had any other changes. Corrections. All right, have a motion to approve.
Barry, you got to keep it a little closer.
All right, I get the front of out, want to eat. All right, I have a motion to approve with the changes. That change. Got a motion
Second.
and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? So now, looking to have a public hearing, 2022-005P. Public hearing is Purucker Replace property across, oh, that's not one, I thought we had before.
Yeah.
Okay, so property private road from 124 South Shore Drive. Speaks today, I'm going to present this.
Good evening. As you remember, you passed this on preliminary reading last meeting, and then we set it for a final hearing and a public hearing tonight. So I think the only thing we need to do tonight is to open and close the public hearing and then vote on the project. Thank you.
So make a motion to open public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Favor, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Sorry, people. I'm not used to being on stage. All right, the public hearing is for the replat, which I just, you may want to just explain exactly where you're replatting. People are solid this.
Okay, we're replatting 2 lots of the Shelby subdivision, which is on the south side of South Shore Drive, across from South Shore Drive, and we're basically replatting that into 3 lots. Size is not an issue because the average lot size is 3.71 acres, and so we meet all the requirements.
Yeah, in reviewing this in the last meeting, I mean, we saw no issues as far as, records lot, that they would be buildable and could conform in any way. Anybody else have anything else on this? Any questions or comments? All right, anybody from the audience have anything? I want to say that during any public hearing, you can speak and we don't want you to be interrupted in any way by anybody else. Everybody should have the same courtesy everybody else has. So if you have any comments about this replat, it might affect Russ.
Are the owners of the property the ones making the petition? Or is it the people who are planning on owning the property?
Basically both.
Because when I looked it up, I didn't recognize Purucker's name on the other side at all.
That's because he's a trustee of the trust. That's why I have him as the applicant.
You good? All right. Anybody else have anything?
Clark, I wonder if there was any previous discussion on how sewer septic would be handled. This is just for 3 single-family homes.
It would be able to do three separate single homes, yeah.
If I could answer that, that is nothing that this board has anything to do with. We are only looking at the land. If it is approved, the owners will have to go to the Marshall County Health Department and get their septic approved. That's all we can do.
Anything else? Anybody?
Is this the primary plan or the secondary plan?
This is just a public hearing for the replat, the final.
So it's secondary.
Yeah, if you want to call it
Okay.
second.
Okay, so question then, according to the BZA, if it's a secondary plan, you're supposed to provide the landscape architecture.
Are you
Uh,
talking about,
Are you talking about the PUD? We're talking about a replat on property right now.
Okay,
pay attention.
You know,
I am paying attention. It's hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Any more? If not, then I entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Are we,
Go ahead.
Yeah, public hearing is closed. All right, anybody have any comments now that you want to address for? All right. Any more discussion? Not, I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the replat as proposed by Mr. today on the Purucker.
And Mr. Good seconded. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now moving on,
If I may, I'll take 2 signatures from you and I'll get out of your way.
I'll do that real quick. Sign this.
Sign separate.
We don't have one, just one copy. Thanks, Don. All right. Application 2022-006P, the public hearing to rezone 415 Lake Shore Drive from C2 to PUD. I'll entertain a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
Clerk.
Second.
All right, we got a first. Second,
Second.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, guess at this time, I would ask that, that Dean would want to stand up and present, or Mike Stallings. I didn't
You
use
want me
it.
to try to speak from here or?
You want to
If you wanted,
give him the mic? Give him the mic.
Joel, can I have a moment? We're gonna have this 4 minutes per person, so I'll be the one keeping the 4 minutes. When the timer goes off, I would ask that you be considerate and allow the next person to please talk. Thanks.
He can present as long as he wants.
yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
go ahead,
you're not held to 4 minutes.
go ahead.
See, 40 minutes.
Right here.
My name is Mike Stallings. My address is 506 East 5, which is across the street from three houses east of the 415 project. I also own the house next to that is 422 Lakeshore Drive. And I have owned my house here for 45 years. 27 years as a part-time summer resident, last 18 years as a full-time. I'm also the owner of Mayor Custom, the proposed developer of the lots. My wife Patty and I have been extensively involved in the promotion and development of Culver. In fact, I believe there are very few, if any, residents who have lived next to the or watched the deterioration of this particular building over the 45 years. Our company, Mayor Custom Homes, has built 45 homes in Culver or late in Stark County and remodeled another 40 homes over that period of time. But this amounts to about $45 million in this area, just in over that period of time. Patty is a past member of the Culver Park Board and current president of the Antiquarian and Historical Society, as well as a board member of the Gift of War. She's also a past member of the Boys and Girls Club and Board of Directors. I am past president of the Culver Chamber of Commerce, so we've been very involved. My current volunteer, if you will, to Culver is that I'm the chairman of the Tree Commission, which I have been for 17 years since it started. And we have planted to beautify the town of Culver approximately 500 trees in the parkways of town and probably removed close to 100 dead deceased trees. So both of us have been very involved, and we're very proud of their contributions to Culver, and the loss at 415 will be no exception. I have an extensive background and experience in making houses in Culver something to be admired. Why would someone like me who lives across the street from this project do anything but the best thing? On the contrary, many of the dissenters have showed
up to object to the project at the last plan commission meeting, and I was not in town at the time, and I didn't watch it on Zoom. Meeting were basically summer residents. Two of the three who led the objectors have never been volunteered for anything. One of them has volunteered and worked for various organizations. Bob and Lindy Dervick, the owners of a small home that is adjacent to this particular project, according to their comments, purchased their home adjacent to this project 12 years ago. And were a few feet from the old building at that time. I have some photographs, and I think you have folders that show how close their building, their home was to the old building that was there. Those photographs, you can take a look at your convenience. They're pretty exemplary of the situation that existed when this whole building before it burned down. The photographs also show a dumpster that was located at the edge of the property, basically under the window to their bedroom. And I think the town had requested that that had been moved, but I don't know if it ever was. But it was there for many, many months, if not years. Also, the sides of their house actually are built over onto a 415 property. But they violate the lot lines on the north side and on the east side of the property. Now, our intent in what we want to do is to provide some more green space between us and them. When the building was there, and if you look at some of those pictures, you will see that it was almost impossible to walk behind the house. If they did, they were walking on the property. You know, it's unfortunate, and it was the way it was. I don't know whether they were aware of this when they bought the property, but it obviously did exist. But whatever it is, you know, we need to put that on record. And we're not looking to create any issues with that. In fact, the redesign that is going to be presented to you shortly gives them actually more space. And it's our space, but it's going to be green space that they can use. Comment from one dissenter that the project quote does not fit the area well and will value the property is totally false. And I can attest to that. Been building here for 18 years. I call your attention to the Beachview condos, the Harbor Town homes, Bayside condos, Culver Cove. These are all the same areas of our project and have actually dramatically increased the value as have single-family homes and vacant lots in the area. You may want to check with any public realtor to verify this fact, but this statement is saying that what I listened to when I heard this last month, it was the value of, you know, down the street, Lakeview, there's 20 townhomes down there, and there are expensive homes across the street from it. On State Street, there's a 6-unit condo building. I don't think that that's had any negative impact on the town of Culver. And in fact, there are houses that are directly across the street from that. So there's precedence for this kind of project. We're not talking about a condominium per se. We're talking about townhomes, basically row houses. If you've ever been to the East Coast, you see these all over. They're pretty common. It is a townhome project, but these are actually individual units that are attached. The difference to going up and trying, like the project on State Street as an example, going up and trying to get 2 or 3 stories out of it. We're not looking to go extremely high. We're not looking to go tall. And in fact, I think if you look at the dimensions of this project and the height of it, there are two homes right now, one adjacent across the street, just west of it that's being remodeled. And there's another one across the street to the north that's, that was remodeled some time ago. And those houses, if you measure them, and I didn't go in them, but I can basically my experience out in the street, are probably taller than the project we're proposing to do. So the comments that this is way out of place, that it's a monster, that it's big, I think are totally false. This, I think, will fit the community. You've seen some renderings, the pictures. These are not the project, but they're an example of what it will look like. If you read Culver's comprehensive plan, you will find the primary need is housing of all types. By the way, would you please raise your hands if you've read the comprehensive plan? Good. So those who haven't, that's the primary ingredient in the comprehensive plan, housing of all types. What this is zoned with right now is C2 zoning. It could be a storefront. It could be a storefronts with condos over them. It could be something that even creates more density. With what we're proposing in the number of units, I don't think there's a density issue in this thing. And it's on Lakeshore Drive. It's not going to be going down the street, but that will be further explained to you. The two economic engines that drive the economy of Culver are the Academy and Lake Mexico. That's basically our major industry. The three people I referred to a few minutes ago are here because of Lake Mexico. They all bought homes and they all live here part-time. By the way, I'm not making anything negative about that. We did the same thing. We were part-timers for 27 years, as I said before. Are now 18-year full-time residents. But that's what draws people to Culver. The Academy draws parents at Lake. In the summertime, you have to patrol it all the time. But that's the big engine that drives this community. One of our primary beliefs is that this project will appeal to Academy parents and summer parents, residents as well. One person in that meeting last month made the comment that, oh, well, this thing will be people from out of town. It may be, maybe, I don't know. By the way, the lady that made that comment is out of town. She doesn't live here. She uses it as a center. So, you can't have your cake and eat it too. The summer people and ourselves also have an interest shown by full-time residents in wanting to be in this project. We have someone right now who has indicated an interest. We have not done any reservations because it's not approved yet. But we do have a local person that is very interested in buying into this thing. I've also talked to people in our situation that are retirees, and this makes a lot of sense to them because they can have a really high quality project, really high quality home, but don't have to go through the maintenance issues that are associated with older people maintaining these houses. Finally, I would like to address an issue that has bugged me ever since I listened to this presentation last month. There was a person called in and said, quote, "This is a money grab and I can't figure out what." That's very insulting. That was very insulting to us. The guy doesn't even live here, by the way, he lives in California. And I did, and I don't know if they're in your folders or not, but I would be happy to give you some pictures I went down and took of his house. He has a rental house in town, and my recommendation would be to tear the damn thing down and put something else in because it's a mess. And yet he comes in and he accuses us of being in a money grab. I don't know whether the Plan Commission is familiar with this particular project and how it ended up being sold. But the town of Culver had to invest extensive dollars to keep this thing going. I don't know for how many years they had to cut all the grass because this Culver that owned it never did anything. And when the project burned down, Culver had to go in and pay the money to clean it up. Culver had to, if they wanted to recoup their funds, when the sheriff's sale came, they had to bid at that sale. Because of where I live, I was always very interested in this thing. I was interested in something across the street from me that would continue the quality of what I see happening in this town. I didn't want a retail project. I didn't want a strip center. We got enough empty buildings downtown that we could be occupied right now. This is a residential community, and that area is residential, but the nature of the project itself, and the nature of the cost of reclaiming that property was so extensive that you couldn't put a single family home on it. You could match something on the lake. Cost wise, we had to do something that made sense. And we worked with Jenny, with Bill Gibbons, to try to figure out something to do with this. And when we bid on this thing, they were the primary bidder, we were the only other bidder. So this gentleman who says there must be something fishy going on here, he didn't bid anything. I don't know the guy's ever been in town. He's a relative of someone. So, well, we put our money where our mouth is. There's a lot of money invested in this. In order to make this project successful, we have to do something design-wise that will return on our investment. We didn't do this for nothing. We didn't do it to lose money. So please keep that in your mind, that this project has been designed and it's been thought out by ourselves and members of the town board and our town manager. We didn't start this project or thinking of it even at all until we went to them and said, what do you want? What would you like to have here? You want commercial? You want residential? What would you like to have? And this is a product that has been thought out and designed in conjunction with the town of Pueblo. So with that, I would say, I think we are, we have the right attitude in doing this. We live here. We're not somebody that's coming in. We have had a successful record, $45 million worth of construction we've done on this lake and in Culver and in the two counties. We do, to anyone who knows what we do custom work. We don't do subdivision type housing. We don't build ticky-tacky or repetitive type stuff. Everything we do is custom. Everything in this building is going to be custom. It's not a building that is going to appeal to anybody with a low income, quite honestly. We think it will appeal to academy parents. We think it will appeal to summer residents. And we think there are local residents that will like to have something like this. So with that, I thank you for your time. And if you have any questions of me, I can have an answer.
I would like, and I appreciate it, Mr. Stallings, but would you like to address what you're doing with the the condo, the townhouses that you want to do so that the public can actually see as far as your parking, you've addressed the parking, you've addressed the height, you said the dumpster, but things like that, if you would just address the public personally.
I will do that, but Steve Stocko from Mecca Engineering
Okay,
is going to address that, and then Sarah
Okay.
Jones
Thank
is
you.
also going to speak. Midnight here, but it's,
right.
I think we all need to explain exactly what it is. So if there's any questions, though, we'd be happy to answer them. Steve will, or Sarah will, or I will.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
You want this back, or?
Unless he needs it. He might need it.
Good evening, Steve Stocko with Mecca Engineering. In addition to the photos and the existing site, I would like to just point out, because at the last meeting, there were concerns of this project not being conducive to the zoning, the area, and the use of the property. It is currently zoned C2, based on your ordinance. The first paragraph in the C2 ordinance is the C2 commercial district is a general commercial district designed for freestanding commercial activities which may be highway oriented, or those business establishments which by the nature of their business do not readily adapt to a downtown location. So I would put forth that the entire intent of doing a PUD, a residential PUD in this instance, is to bring it more within the character of the environment, to be residential and to fit in with the neighborhood. That being said, we have tried to make efforts to conform and make changes based on the comments from the previous meeting. For the property, which you should have all sets of the engineering drawings that have been updated. All units now face Lakeshore Drive. There are no units facing the side streets, Coolidge and Lakeview. Green space has actually increased. We exceeded the green space requirement in the previous design. It has actually increased from 16.6% to 17.1%. The density is now 6 units instead of 7. It is now a 15% decrease in density. There is a one-way drive behind the buildings, which runs between Coolidge and Lakeview, to which the parking is laid out. That is to alleviate and create a traffic flow and not impact the remainder of the neighborhood as much. There are 6 garage units, which were enlarged for cars. Those also have 6 stalls in front of them, for a total of 12 parking units on site, in addition to whatever parking may be on the street, which of course is the requirement for any ordinance. The 6 garage units are also now situated at least 10 feet away from the existing house at the southwest corner of the site. They're leaving green space between the building and the house. Trash bins have also been relocated, which were near that house, over to the Coolidge side, in order to alleviate any kind of potential for issues there. Overall, it creates much more breathing space. We believe it's far more in line with what was asked for at the previous meeting and the comments that were presented to us. But with that, I'd like to turn over to Sarah.
Thank you, Steve. I just wanted to address kind of the changes that we've made to the plan and how those relate to the comments that were made at the last meeting. This is quickly as possible. It seemed to be that the main issue at the last meeting was parking. So as Steve said, there are 12 on-site parking spaces now for 6 units instead of 7 units. There's also 7 street parking spots along Lakeshore Drive. So without even going down Coolidge or Lakeview, you'll have 19 parking spaces there. Granted, the Lakeshore Drive ones are open to anyone, but the 12 on-site will just be for residents, and 1 is an accessible site, so a little bit wider if needed. And most of Coolidge is no parking, so there wouldn't be anyone going down there. And this should alleviate all the traffic going down around the block and up. They would be going in off Coolidge and out off Lakeview there. So there shouldn't be any issues going down around the harbor condos, and we know the parking's bad down in that area as it stands now. One of the other comments that was made was the sight line for turning onto Lake Shore Drive. And I believe on your paper, Steve, is that in there? There is a triangle showing the sight line from if you're coming off of Lakeview, turning onto Lake Shore Drive. So just like your sight line. There's actually 17 feet from the furthest most where the curb bumps out into Lake Shore back to where the cars would stop. So there should be 17 feet. There's plenty to view both ways of traffic coming in both directions. What else did we have? Much trash. So we currently have the trash located on Coolidge along the sides of the garages, New York garages. Now, it's designed for 6 trash receptacles, 6 recycling receptacles. That's something that's kind of up to the refuse company and the town. If those are acceptable, we're great with leaving those there. It'd be up to the residents to pull those out onto Coolidge. That may be something the residents want to have someone come and do that for them. There would be 12 cans going along Coolidge, so that everyone's all right with that. We're great with that. The technical review committee unanimously voted to approve this plan 5-0. They've looked at all the utilities, water, drainage, everything, and didn't see any problems with it. Landscape wise, we do show all the green space there. At this point, that's grass. We don't have a further landscape plan, but right now it would just be grass. The renderings show kind of what we're looking at for finishes. Right now, we can't actually say what finishes will be because who knows what's available by the time this thing's built with supply lines, things like that. So we plan on making them nice. I have to look at them too. As of, let's see, 3 hours ago, I'm a full-time Culver resident. So moving truck pulled out at 3:30. So I'm going to be living by these too. So I want to make sure they're nice. So we hope that you'll consider approving this. And if there's any questions, please let us know.
Thank you.
Before you leave, I did have one question. Now that it's just the 6 units instead of the 7 and it's one contiguous, is it still going to have the English basement?
Well, and that's one thing. We did have some soil borings done.
Mhm.
There's a question about some of the soil. We may have to go deeper to get some footing. Dean can address that. You want to talk about that? Or Steve, because we are going to need some different soil borings done. We're going to see how deep we have to go.
Okay.
If we can get full basement under, we might do that, which the height would still stay. A 2-story building there would not be English basement.
The water table is pretty high in those locations, which would lead to having sump pumps. That's standard in most basements anyway, and waterproofing being done. Only 3 of these 6 units are conducive by grade to having walkout basements, which would be the eastmost units. So that is still being considered.
Okay.
Steve Stopko, Mechanician.
Do you have anybody else that represent? Done. All right. Is anybody here? I know we've examined the proposal that was recommended by the TRC. If you have anything that you want to ask at this time, if not, I'll turn it over to the public.
The other question I would have is about the same, the bins, would they be locked in and they would have to be drawn out and put on the street when it comes, or are they?
Depends on what their refuse company says
Okay,
and what the town.
That's
Okay.
not actually our issue. Yeah, it's not ours,
Well,
but yeah.
well, it was just sightlines and
Yeah.
roadage and stuff.
All right, at this time, we will address the public, but I want to remind everyone that you have a 4-minute limit to say what you want to say. I apologize for the short time if you think it is, but we have several people that might want to speak. I ask that you, when you speak, I'd like to ask for everybody else to be respectful and courteous to the person speaking. We can't allow conversations between people while this is going on. That's also incourteous to the person speaking. So at this time, and we have people online as well.
And I would just ask, since I'm typing as fast as I can, that's not very fast, if you could just identify yourselves and spell your last name for me, thanks. you like us to speak in the mic?
Yes.
Okay.
If you wish. State your name and.
My name is Matt Nagel. I have a home on 221 Coolidge Court. I'm sure everyone here received this in the mail. It's a brochure from the park department that contains all the special events and plans. It also has a rather touching quote on the front of it. It says Calder, a little town and park on Lake Maxine. Does this look like the type of development suitable for a little town? 6 units crammed into 1/3 of an acre, nearly 30 feet high with a completely flat roof surrounded by residential single-family homes. Towering over our beloved Lakeshore Drive, only a few feet from the road. My wife and I purchased our home 8 years ago with the clear understanding that we would live potentially near a commercial development. Knowing that we are surrounded by residential homes, I never thought a multi-unit development with density beyond all building codes was possible. Children ages 5 and 1. I am concerned with the traffic. I'd like my kids to be able to roam the streets of Culver and have fun, just like I did when I was a kid. There's an intersection that will be right outside our door that will soon become unsafe for my kids. Parking. Coolidge is an alley. Kids will have to ride their bikes up the middle of the street or walk up and down the street because cars will be parked all over the sidewalks, or there'll be 12 garbage cans sitting out there. The garages will be filled with water toys or some types of other storage and not available to the countless Airbnb residents. Noise. If this was homes, potentially 2 or 3, this is double the density, double or triple. This is double or triple the noise. 12 garbage cans, a stone's throw from my house. I don't even know how one can access this. I guess it seems like it's not identified. And the water, the entire runoff will run down an existing overloaded storm sewer on Coolidge. You cannot tell me the storm sewer is not overloaded. It floods over a foot when we have a 2-inch rain. You have 1 drain in this property. Typically, you have a plan that keeps the water on your property. Lake Max is not your retention pond. Now, I see many here from Culver that have much more history than I. My words may sound naive to those. But to me, this is the tipping point in our precious little town. This is far more than a vote for PUD rezoning. This is a decision that sets the tone for the next developer that tries to push a maximum profit agenda, writes their own building codes, and completely disregards surrounding residents and the small town charm. I ask everyone in this room, would you like a development group buying 2 lots next to your house, rezoning it for a PUD and building a high-rise complex right out your window? I don't know how in good conscience you can support this development. You will see tonight, the only individuals that support this are the development group's friends, family, and those that can profit from this real estate development. There's a reason our property values have increased 37% in the past few years, far exceeding all others in the area. There's a reason every friend and family member that visits you in Culver wants to come back every year. There's a reason you see yourself retiring and growing old with loved ones in Culver. It's called charm, and it takes a century to build and over only a few years to destroy. I don't agree with this density. This is too much. I agree with developing the property, but this is far too much. My name is Bob Derrick.
Speak into the mic.
Good evening. Okay. My name is Bob Derrick. My address is 230 Lakeview Street. We own the single-family home that is on the southwest corner of all the site plans, as mentioned. Since the last meeting, I've done extensive research of the Culver zoning codes, and particularly the PUD section. It states a PUD cannot be solely sought for avoiding the requirements of other zoning classifications.
This is the only purpose of the site plan being discussed tonight, to avoid the setbacks and other requirements. PUDs are typically a mixed use of developments, and this is purely residential. This plan does not meet the requirements of Culver's ordinances. There is inadequate square footage, inadequate setbacks, traffic congestion, and still parking issues with inadequate parking and no handicap space, which is required by state law. A 6-unit development in this location is not reasonable. It should be more compatible with the R1 zoning standards and immediate neighborhood, and of the immediate neighborhood, which consists of single-family homes. I can't say that we're against the development. We would like something to be developed. We just don't want this to be overbuilt. If you look at the plans and you see how much of the area is being developed, it's clear as day. You can see it there. But I do want to talk about the last meeting. And I had 2 concerns, and I wanted to thank you guys for hearing those concerns. Because there were many members that on this sitting up here that I actually talked about the concerns that we brought up. And we appreciate that. In this new plan, or the first thing was an issue with the dumpster, and that was addressed, and we appreciate that. The second thing was a sidewalk being 2 feet from our house, right? And we had at least three members speak on that at the last meeting. This new plan, however, causes a dangerous and unsafe option for our property. The sidewalk that was feet from our house is now turned into a street. Call it a driveway, but it's a street. A street connects from Coolidge all the way to Lakeview Street. And it is 4 feet from our bedroom window. There's also, which is not depicted in the plan, the way our property sits is our bedroom bumps out. So our side yard, which is, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's in the front of the building there, a side yard, where it creates a blind corner is created there where our son can play. Having that street go through is unsafe and unnecessary. Very easy. Meeting, listen, but it was, right? And you asked me how many feet this was away from our bedroom window, master bedroom window in a ranch single family home. He responded without any, when we saw the plans even today, they're 4 feet away from the bedroom window, as I stated. And I did say that this is a street, not a driveway. I'm interested to see how fast a car, if they're turning in to this complex from Coolidge and cutting across that street. The 6 needed parking spots, and you notice your parking spot is not available. What is the natural response? The natural response is to accelerate through, coming right around and getting into Lakeview Street, Lakeview Drive. All right. There's also some other site. There's also
You just cut us all off. Our sound was cut off for all virtual. I just heard you. You cut all dial-in participants off. We cannot hear you. The dial-in people cannot hear you.
All right, got one over there. Please try and hold it to the 4 minutes. We would like to ask everybody to address the board here, so we can hear as well. Others, Mike's not hearing.
Good evening. My name is Tom Uhas. My wife, Teresa, and I live at 430 State Street. I'm here to encourage the planning commission to approve the zoning request for 15 Lakeshore Drive. When I retired to Culver in 2014, I volunteered my time to become part of many Culver community organizations. I served 6.5 years on the CRC, various other community committees. Two themes that were present in all of these Culver organizations was economic development and housing. A significant component, comprehensive plan, and subsequently the stellar designation had an emphasis on economic development and housing. I would ask those opposed to this project would be aware of the consequences should this property remain a commercial entity. The activity, traffic, parking, noise, and congestion would be significantly more than the proposed housing development. The project will offer multiple advantages as required for a PUD property. It will reflect and implement the policies of the comprehensive plan. The enhanced appearance of a pile of dirt to attractive housing units will promote architecture and is compatible with the surroundings. Finally, it will enhance the appearance of Culver. For these reasons, I ask the commission to approve the PUD request. Thank you for your time.
Somebody went under.
All right. Take your name and address for Don.
Even though my voice is very loud. My name is Sue McInturf, McInturff, Don. I live at 430 Harding Court. I'm a single woman living alone and actually would very much consider living in those condos, townhouses, whatever you want to call them, because I don't want to do all the maintenance. And I have friends who are old like me who would also consider.
We don't use that.
Quite frankly, presented the comment that only friends and families of there are for this project, because that's kind of makes the community seem like it doesn't think through things, which I totally disagree with. I've been on many committees and president of the chamber in town, CRC. I have a business downtown, and anything to improve and increase culvert is important to me as a business owner. And to the rest of the business owners that I'm familiar with, as well as having the block away from this site. And I looked in my backyard, I can see the site, and I've seen we go from a nice restaurant to a dilapidated building for years, and then a chartered building for years. And now a hole where nothing sits. Would much rather see this tract from my perspective built there than some other options. Actually, years ago, I was approached to move my structure downtown to that building before it started deteriorating, and they were going to have a second floor. So it's not unreasonable that somebody else might add a second floor. And just because we're a small town does not mean we don't believe in progress and growth. As long as the building is attractive and serves a purpose in town, I'm definitely for it. And I don't mind this building in my side yard.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, have you got anywhere yet, Karen?
Yeah, we're back up.
Oh, we're back up. All right.
Otherwise, I would have let you continue.
Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to respond or?
Yes. Are you still taking live people? I can't really see, so I'm a remote caller.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Name and
So,
address.
yep, I'm Susan Northrup. We're at 404 East Lakeshore. I may be the lady that's out of town that lives
You're breaking up.
for this path that he. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. So we have woodcrafters who are not of academic age yet. We have a nice academic renter living there this year and next year. We are single family homeowners who plan to, my husband plans to work for the academy while my kids go to school there, and we plan to retire there. His in-laws, my husband's family is interested in buying a place to retire there as well. So I'm disappointed in the criticism of the summer families because they turn into full-time Culver residents who care deeply about the Culver that I've known for many, many years. I've seen a lot of renovations around me. We ourselves have renovated our home. We've employed a local architect. We've employed local contractors. We employ a local realtor. We employ a landscaper, doing exactly which is infuse money into the economy. We go to the grocery store. The academic family that lives there now spends a lot of money in town. We spend a lot of money in town. We go to the farmers market. We invest in all of the local businesses when we are there, all year around. So I want you all to think about these single families that invest in local businesses, in local contractors, in your local downtowns, in all of the community activities that you have. And I want you to think about who is going to live across the street from us. Because I know who is going to live across the street from us. I know an interested party in buying it. And I want you to think through who might be that person. That was me 20 years ago when I came back to party. It is East Lakeshore homeowners that are buying and investing in this for their kids, for overflow, for the party weekends. They're
You're breaking up again.
Papa's Pizza to be delivered, but okay. But I wonder and I challenge how much infusion in the future of Culver will the homeowners and the renters or the people that stay on the weekends to party really give us. The precedent that is set by the condos that are on State Street are not really a precedent. Those are affordable to families that want to come into Culver, that may work at the academy, that want to raise a family. But the condos across the street from us are not going to be affordable for those young families to come in and live that work at the academy during the school year. So I want us all to just be aware of who would be in these 6 condominiums. I'm not opposed to having single family homes there, a few garden homes there with a patio and a deck and a little yard where we all can be a community together. I'm not opposed to improvement. I'm contribute to poor traffic and congestion for those who really want to spend money in the downtown businesses. Thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Anybody online? He's not on there.
He has his hand raised. So,
Okay.
but if somebody-
All right, we got another one right here. I would call your names, but I don't know everybody's names. I'm just pointing. Sorry. Just state your name and your address, please.
Jeff Mansfield, 222 Lakeview.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, thank you. Before I start, private time starts, I have a question. Is this a preliminary or secondary review of the plan?
This is the final review of the plan before it goes to the town council.
Okay, thank you.
It's just a rezoning.
Just, it's approval of PUD.
Well, to approve the PUD, you need to approve the plan according to your zoning.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if this is secondary, the application is incomplete. Plan commission, at tonight's meeting. We have not seen stormwater management, landscape plan, preliminary plat, projected construction schedule, agreements, covenants, bond or performance guarantees. Those are all laid out in your ordinance.
Yeah.
We will say this, whatever I hope I said it right. I always have a problem. Does this will be a high quality? I have no question about that. Very proud of my home, and I wish I didn't speak against this. I really did. But just as they have a right to develop the property to the highest and best use, I also have a right to make sure it doesn't adversely impact my property. I also recognize the efforts that they made after the last meeting to address our concerns. Our attorney couldn't be present tonight, but I am going to, and I guess I am going to present his findings, his conclusions. It doesn't meet the development standards. It's not appropriate. It's being sought to avoid standards imposed by other districts. It's not compatible with the surroundings. It doesn't qualify as a PDUD because it is not multi-use. This is single use. And the required finding of strict application resulting in practical difficulty in use of the property cannot be met. And if it is approved, it is subject to court appeal. So I want to address rezoning of the property. One of the things is this is really going to set precedents. If you pass those down, please. For other use of PUD that do not, or infill development, that does not apply to existing zoning codes. For example, there's 2 lots on Coolidge that are currently up for sale that could be, again, combined, and a developer asked for use PUD zoning to not address zoning codes or zoning standards to build there. So zoning code
in the establishment of the zoning districts. Sorry, a little nervous here. A couple of things. The PUD should not be allowed where the zoning classification is sought primarily to avoid the imposition of standards and requirements of other zoning districts. I went through and I applied the zoning codes to the lots using one of the site plans that they have. And you can see that there could be 2 homes built on those lots. There could be, there's 2 variations for R2. Depending on how you establish the front yard, you could see there's a yellow square on that. And that's the size of the beach view condominiums. You could build a beach view condominium on the site. And C2, you can see that there is space on there for C2. So there are other uses for this lot that can happen. It does not need to be rezoned to BUD to PUD. So based on that, I would ask that it say that it doesn't meet the requirements for PUD. If it's passed, I would like to ask for a couple of things. A landscape plan to include screening along the north and west side of the property. I'd like to see the covenants to restrict short-term rental. And I'd like to see some boat trailer restrictions on Coolidge Avenue to address what we see as potential parking concerns. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got to hold that question.
My wife says I talk a lot with my hands, but my name is Glenn Brandenburg. I live at 439 Harding Court. I have 2 properties here in the town of Culver. Second property I have is right next door at 440 Harding Court. I know there was a comment made earlier that says that someone said, hey, the only people who are going to speak up for this are friends of Dean and Sarah and Mike and Patty. What's true is I'm a neighbor of theirs, but I'm not here because I'm a friend. I'm here, I'm a 5-year resident. I'm one of those Culver parents that decided to move here full time, and this is my permanent residence. I traveled through many different states, and I've watched a lot of small towns that have a very myopic view of growth. And I think when you take a look at this development, it's really consistent with what I believe Culver can be. I don't think we have to say that there is a difference between small town and forego the opportunity for economic development, as well as fulfilling a need for housing within the community. So when I look at this project, I think it's consistent with both those needs. I think that when you look at it from my perspective, we've got a group of folks that are involved in this project that are well respected within the community, have done a lot of great work within the community in terms of volunteering, and we know what type of product they put out. I also take a look at, I'm a business owner and I'm a Wendy's franchisee in 5 different states. I've been through many of these similar types of things where people have had properties right behind the commercial lot and wanted to fight us going in, and the property was zoned appropriately for us to do it. The question I always ask myself is, right now this property is zoned for C2. If this project doesn't go through and they don't do this project, I would like to buy that piece of property and keep it commercial. So I would ask the folks that live in the area, would you prefer for us to keep it commercial and put a restaurant in there? A bar. I think that your noise concerns, your traffic concerns would be far greater than what they're trying to do with this property. I'm in full support of what they're trying to do. And I would ask that the board consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Doug Farmer, 225 Lakeview with my wife Shan. FARMER.
Okay. We
So,
got it.
yeah, thank you. So Sarah said originally that the primary objection was traffic, and it really isn't, or I'm sorry, she said parking, and it really isn't parking, it's traffic, right? So you currently have 9 houses on Lakeview and I think 5 on Coolidge, and you're adding 6 right in the middle of that. So you're almost increasing the potential traffic flow by 50%. I think this, which maybe in a normal environment is okay, but the problem is now that you've got Washington one way, you got Coolidge one way, and Washington has a significant and I think unacceptable bottleneck at the end of it. You've created a potential traffic quagmire that puts the residents and the children in that neighborhood at risk. So my strong feeling and belief is that if this goes through, something has to be done in a meaningful and measurable way to change that. So that's the number one objective. The number two objective is if this is the secondary plan, and I think Jeff did a terrific job of enumerating what's missing, there are some significant portions as set forth in the town's BZA zoning ordinance that are missing. So in good faith and good judgment and legal standing, how do you move this forward in absent of that information? So that's number two. Number three, I just want to be real fair here, and Ms. Northrup, I think, said it subtly. I guess I'm a little offended by Mike Stallings' opening statements. I think he offended a lot of people on his way to trying to get support for this, right? So I don't know who he was making reference to in the context of a couple of people that have never volunteered. There are people that were effectively raised in that town, and I'm one of them. I've rode my bike up and down those streets since I was 5 years old, and I'm 60, right? My mother-in-law owned that house on Lakeview for 50 years. So we've been there longer than Mike Stallings has, okay? And he has no idea to what extent the other neighbors contribute in their own personal and meaningful way to make a judgment that nobody else has contributed or volunteered. I think it's just, number one, I think it's ineffectual and it's not necessary for this process. And I think it just misrepresents some of the folks in that neighborhood. We're concerned about the property value, the safety of our families, the safety of the children that play in that area. We're concerned about the building, the representation as it relates to and fits into single family dwellings. So this is not about, how long we've been in the neighborhood or what we volunteered for, because there's a lot of people that are opposed to this that have done maybe measurably less than Mr. Stallings. That's okay, right? You don't have to be a philanthropist to oppose a project like this. And so the net message here is we all agree something needs to be done there. And Matt was called out for making reference to a money grab. Again, I think that's inappropriate. But at the end of the day, something needs to be done. We don't necessarily agree that it needs to be a 2-story building that effectively is a large box with 6 units that's going to almost double the housing in our neighborhood and double the traffic. We just don't agree with that. We're okay with doing something, but let's find something reasonable, something safe, something suitable for the neighborhood.
Lose him or did he quit? You still there?
Oh, I'm sorry, Barry. Yeah, I'm done. Thank you. So,
okay.
like any good politician, I reclaim my time, though. How's that?
All right. Anybody else? I'll be at one right there. State your name.
Oh, sorry, Lee Marshall. I'm at 4244 School Marshall. Well, I knew about this project about a year ago because I met with Mike Stallings, pitching an idea to him to develop something downtown. And he was kind enough to show me very preliminary drawings for at 415 Lakeshore. And I just feel like as I'm sitting here listening to people, and I know that this thing has been talked about for the last year, that I think I used the term ambush on town family. It seems like the neighborhood maybe over here, that what should have really happened is that rather than being kind of squished in here at the end, that should have been outreach at the beginning to talk about the project.
Mike's a good guy, it's a good idea. I still think it's a good idea. I think you have a lot of people who live in the area who also have good ideas. And then it just could have been handled a little bit differently, and there could have been outreach at the beginning, so these people wouldn't feel quite as ambushed, I think, as they feel now. And they feel, I almost get desperate in terms of trying to share what the reaction is to the proposal. But I think they're good people on all sides. And I also got to say, we need to stop doing this thing where if you're part-time, you're not a Polish citizen. Everybody's a Polish citizen if they live here. And if you added up their taxes, they probably pay more than the rest of us. So I don't think that's, I agree with the call that just has to stop being a requirement to be heard.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? Oh, got one more?
Doug Bernhardt, 421 Lakeview. On the site plan, what is the rectangle with the hash marks where the dumpster used to be?
It's where the dumpster used to be.
Okay.
No, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah. Or where the dumpster was? You talking about the last spot where the trash can, or something about where the dumpster was?
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay. Did you get his name?
Tracy Gordon. I live at 221 Lakeview Street. And my brother's not there then. Thank you. I'm going to hand you this. I hand you one of these. I don't know if there's enough for everyone, but I apologize. I'm actually going to come over here. And what I'm handing out is, what's this called again, Bob? Site clearance plan. Okay, triangle, whatever. So I live right here. I am a full-time resident. I do love what you just said, but I do drive up this street 3, 4, 5 times a day. What?
Are you addressing this to the board, or are you talking to the people? I'll let you see what you're talking about.
Do you want me to talk to you?
I would like for
Okay.
you to talk to the board as far as what your discussion is, as far as concerned.
So I live here and I drive up the street. If you look right here, this is the sidewalk, correct?
Correct.
So that means that this is going to be right here. There's a little bit of green space. There's a stop sign right here. The stop sign that I went to three times today. When I stop there, if this is here, I can't see around it. You look at that piece of paper I just gave you, this is done in the wrong area, according to your rules. This site triangle should be done from right here. That's all I'm saying. Can't see around it. I have a 16-year-old daughter who's gonna be driving. There are 2 other girls that live at the end of the block. They're gonna be driving. They're not gonna see around it. You also have parking spaces that are gonna be there. You're not gonna be able to see around those. What are we gonna do when there's an accident? That's all I'm saying. I'm not against this. Mr. Stallings, you brought us here. You worked with my dad for a long time. I have nothing against you. You worked on our house. Dan and Sarah, I lived with you for a long time. When I graduated from college, I have nothing against you guys. We don't. This is just too much in this area. This is not safe for any of us. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you very much. We have anybody else? Got one more. You can. I would like to direct it to the project alone. I mean, I want no comments against other people, what they might have said. Let their comments be what they were, please.
Including Mr. Stallings.
Including Mr. Stallings.
I live at 427 Lakeview Street. My grandkids play at the Darabins. I worry, we walk a lot. We walk down the pathway. So we walk down Lakeview Street from my house, across Lake Shore, walk down. so many people walk and bike through there. This is going to cause a lot of traffic. I too know Stallings, friends with them, they're, but this is the project and I'm close just like they are to the project. I can see it from my front porch. I just think it's too much. We want something nice. I wish it would be single family and there would be more green space. It'd be a little bit safer, make everybody happy. But walking and biking and going down to the trail, which so many people do, and so many more down there, when you have so much more traffic coming through, and I'm curious, the drive that's going past Bob and Lindy's, right by their house, is that one way to come off of Coolidge and then turn on to Lakeview? So you get a lot of people, like we heard before, that park on Coolidge. They're not supposed to park on Coolidge. They go the wrong direction. I just feel like we're going to have people pulling into that drive, backing up, turning around. I just think the traffic's going to be a nightmare. I just feel like 6 units is too much. I know they went down some. I know they've made several changes, but I still feel like there needs to be some changes made. I just don't feel like it's as safe for our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Nobody else online? Nobody else? Okay.
I'm Lindy Darovic, 230 Lakeview Street. I'm here to address my concerns with the proposed plan. As I stated in the last meeting, my home is a small ranch, single-family home on the southwest corner that is on all of the site plans. I've owned this home for the last 14 years, but have spent over 20 years enjoying every second I have spent in Culver. I feel like there's like I've spent this many years here, but you can only spend this many years here. I think that's ridiculous. This is my son, Landon. He's 6. He was recently the star student in his class, and on the star student poster, in the space for his favorite things, he listed his mom and dad, his dog, and Culver. One of his favorite things to do is to go to the corner of Lakeview Street and Lakeshore Drive when the fire siren goes off. You see, as the firefighters drive into the station, they honk and wave to Landon, and it's simply one of his favorite things. Once the firefighters get in the truck, and if they drive out past that corner, they honk the horn of the fire truck if they see him standing there. It's the little things in a small town that mean the most. And that is one of many reasons Culver has that small town charm and it's a place that we love. Let's talk about small town charm. Like the Saturday morning farmer's market, like the smiles and waves from passing cars, like the excitement of Lake Fest, like when it takes you 2 hours to walk a block and a half to the lake because you stop and talk to your neighbors on the way, where your neighbors turn into family, where your son has several honorary papas and nanas and ninas because his own had passed away, where these honorary papas and nanas and ninas love him as if he was one of their own grandchildren, where you have a neighborhood where we look out for each other's kids, where our kids can play hide and seek amongst the neighbors' houses and catch lightning bugs at dusk, where our kids can ride bikes and do sidewalk chalk and not worry about getting hit by a car on a road that's 4 feet from our house. The proposed plan puts the safety of our children in question. I fear for my son to be playing in our yard with his friends and having a street 4 feet from our home. He's not even 4 feet. That's how small it is. Well, why is this even being considered? I am all for the development of this property, but at what cost? The cost of our children's safety? I can think of 17 kids under the age of 12 that will be affected by this proposed plan in our immediate area. Why are we risking even one of those 17 kids for this? There are blind corners due to the building sidewalk to sidewalk and a street being put in 4 feet from a house. During this last meeting where this was discussed, Barry, you made a comment about the sidewalk that was between my house, which was like 2 feet from my bedroom window, and that there should be a change to the footprint about that. Was the change you had in mind a street that is now 4 feet from my bedroom window? Yes, 4 feet, not 10 feet, like was previously stated in the TRC. And yes, it is a street because it connects Coolidge to Lakeview Street, just like Washington. Washington is a street, correct? It's the same thing. A street that will leave a blind corner in my yard to where my son is in danger when he wants to run to the corner to see the firefighters drive by. I'm a school counselor and that's my area of expertise, but I've spent more time than I care to admit looking up ordinances and variances and other zoning related topics. Why? Because I'm tired of hearing it could be so much worse, or you don't want commercial there, it could be a dog kennel or a gas station. And I feel that is such a passive aggressive way to somehow try to
30
get me to
seconds.
agree that what's being proposed is what is best for Culver. It's simply not. There is no hardship here. We don't need to cram all these units in this space. Why should I have to settle for it could be so much worse when it could be so much better? Why is it okay for a plan to have last minute changes such as last time? Or how could you even be set to vote if the necessary documents such as the landscape plan and covenants are not provided prior to the vote?
It's time.
Let me finish. Can I wrap up, please? By a show of hands, how many of you spoke out in support of this proposed plan? How many in support? How many of you raising your hands live in the immediate vicinity of this area? Immediate, Lakeshore, Coolidge, Lakeview Street. Notice the developers are also raising their hand. How many of you spoke out? Excuse me, it's my turn. How many of you spoke out in opposing
Okay,
of this
that's
plan?
time.
Excuse me, but it's time.
Oh my God, so let her go.
Point.
You have questions?
Mike Stallings ran.
You live in the immediate area. Thank you very much. This is too much.
I'm sorry. But you're supposed to be addressing the board,
I-
not to
and
not
I-
to have
I
a
did.
conversation.
I did
with
address the
anybody.
board.
Thank you. All right, no more. We're gonna have, Ms. Monroe, she's the town manager. She's gonna be reading some of the letters that were written. Mike?
Do you want to speak first? Okay.
My name is Kim Burns and I live at 215 Lakeview Street, which is just down the street from this project. I believe this project, we've been looking forward to having something done with this lot for many years. And it's going to be nice, I'm sure, whatever it is. My concerns, I have lots of concerns, but my one concern that I want to address now is I know you're saying we have 6 garages and 6 additional parking spaces. I also see a road there that does not look wide enough to accommodate even backing out of those garages and parking spaces. And I do know that you're saying 12 vehicles, 12 cars, but we all know that living in Culver, you don't have room in your garage for a car. It's made for your golf cart, for your boating supplies, for your park benches, for anything that isn't a car. I can't picture you saying that there's enough spaces for 12 cars here when I barely see enough for 6. And where are you going to put the golf carts? Because everybody in Culver has a golf cart. So again, that is always an issue too. But the street that's there, I don't even see how you can pull into your parking space and to be able to back out safely. It looks to me like there's not enough clearance. How wide is that road that's actually there? Because I'm looking at the garages are 25 feet deep. The parking space is 20 feet deep. It looks to me like that road, how would you even be able to get a car into that parking space and pull it out onto the road and get going? And you could never put a car in a garage because then everybody would have to back out that was parked behind the garage to access that car. So I feel that's an issue, along with the major concern, as most of the people here have said, is the view from Lakeview, trying to pull out to Lakeshore. You're going to have to pull up past the sidewalk to even be able to see the traffic coming from that way. And you have skateboarders, you have bicyclers, you have runners always crossing that road. And I just don't see how you could possibly see past the building to see the pedestrians on the sidewalk, which is a danger. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else before we read these? Thank you. Hold on one time.
I don't really have a question, but this came up about no drainage, no thing, no, none of that kind of stuff. My understanding that the technical review committee has looked at all of that. Chuck, could you just tell us what was discussed at that meeting?
The drainage was discussed. We have a drainage plan. People who are speaking about that don't know what they're talking about. The technical review committee, which consists of the town managers, the street departments, people from the planning commission, myself, et cetera, looked at all of those things, and they met what we felt was asked of it. So we have everything we need. That's why we passed it with a favorable recommendation, 5-0, to bring it to the planning commission.
But we do have their plan, if anybody wants to see it. For our stormwater, everything's in effect.
Okay, I received several letters on this project that should be read into the minutes. I forwarded all of these to planning commission members ahead of time. Several came in at the last minute too, so you may not have seen a couple of these. I will read them as quickly as possible. One of them was signed by multiple people. I'll read their names and their addresses. To whom it may concern, please consider voting yes for the proposal concerning the townhomes on 415 East Lakeshore Drive. This type of housing is the perfect fit for the area and will provide much needed alternative housing for the town of Culver while increasing the town space. The 6-unit building is an appropriate size for the property and will not be obtrusive to the neighborhood. The fact that there are 12 parking spaces available on site will lessen parking issues for area residents. There are many commercial properties in town currently sitting vacant. The fact that 415 Lakeshore is already zoned commercial could potentially add this to an already troublesome problem. Not to mention that commercial businesses operating at this location
Better start reading off the names of these people.
and congestion to the area. We would highly recommend the Plan Commission rule in favor of the zoning change for this project. Now I'm going to read you the names of the people who have signed this. Deb Sears, 319 East Jefferson Street. Shirley Almond, 432 School Street. Richard Heiss, 1500 East Shore Drive. Anna and J.R. Spitznobel, 319 East Jefferson Street. Mary Catherine McBride, 1059 West Shore Drive. Thomas Fritz, 559 East Jefferson Street. Robert Law, 920 East Shore Drive. Scott and Mary Ann Rice, Unit 141, Culver Cove. Claire Heiss, 176 Drive. Michael Madison, 1059 West Shore Drive. Alan Fritz, 328 East Jefferson Street. Sharon Fritz, 328 East Jefferson Street. Kim Arnold Wright, 432 School Street. Catherine Densborn, 50 West Shore Drive. Fritz and Julie Steck, 1290 East Shore Drive. Brett Henricks, 728 East Shore Drive. Mark Moore Jr. Jenny Egan, 1814 East Shore Drive. Walden Egan, 1814 East Shore Drive.
So no one from the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, but we're not.
The next letter is from Mary Ann Rice added, speaking on behalf of my husband and myself, we're supporting the zoning change in support of the townhouse project. A nice townhouse complex would make a great addition to the town of Culver. Culver is a special community, and we are excited to welcome new people to the community. Owners of the Culver Cove Unit 141. The next letter is from Nancy Warner. She did not have the address. Oh, she puts it in the email. I'm sorry. Hello, Jenny. I just wanted to reach out and be an advocate for the project Dean Jones and his partners are trying to pass for this evening's meeting. I've seen his work around the lake, and I've spent the last year and a half working with him on our future project at 1150 South Street. He's professional, he's done amazing work, and I think he would create something very useful for the town and replace the eyesore with something spectacular. Thank you, Nancy Warner. The next one is from Tricia Shrenak. I own 2 homes in Culver, 525 Lakeshore and 521 Lakeshore Drive. I would love to see this project happen. I think it will be done well and a nice addition to the town. It's currently commercial. I certainly don't want a tattoo parlor, some type of bar, as I've already got tons of noise from Lake House. But I knew that when I bought it, just as everyone that lives around there did. When City Tavern was there, a smelly dumpster was there too, so was the commercial traffic. Please give this careful consideration instead of listening to the few and all of their relatives. Tricia Shridnock. The next one is just a quick note to provide support for the multifamily residential row houses proposed on the above property. If changes made since the last meeting are sufficient to satisfy the immediate neighbors, it would seem appropriate to move forward. My understanding is the developer scaled down to 6 units. While there's apprehension, it would seem the existing commercial zoning would have more negative outcomes in terms of traffic and parking than residential. I believe it used to be a car dealership, repair shop in the 70s. There are many commercial uses that would be consequential without the need for variances. Good luck, Jim Esposito, 521 Forest Place. The next one is hi, Jenny. Jim Hahn and Charlotte Hahn are in favor of the 415 Lakeshore Drive rezone to PUD. I don't have their address, but they're in the audience. The next one is Dear Culver Town Manager Jenny Monroe. I know several people who have had their homes built and also remodeled by Marar Custom Homes. The homeowners are very pleased with the work Marar does, and I feel the town of Culver is fortunate to have a conscientious quality builder in our town. I'm in favor of the row houses that Marar Custom Homes plans of building on Lakeshore Drive in Culver. Would be an asset to the surrounding area by giving it an architectural updated feel to an area that has been neglected for several years. Thank you, Ginger Sushi. Yes, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry. And there's not an address other than Culver, Indiana. The next one is good evening. I'd like to voice my support for the new townhomes on Lakeshore Drive. We live about a block away. I understand that a few people have come out against this. This is a property that is zoned commercial in a predominantly residential area. The proposal is to build 6 townhomes. I don't see how this is anything but a positive for the area and also the town. This is a tax revenue boost as well as a lift to surrounding property values. Developer is not looking to build a bar with live music till midnight or a high-rise condo complex. It's 6 townhomes that will blend with the existing neighborhood and fix an eyesore that is long overdue. Lakeshore Drive is the welcome mat where visitors enter the town. It's time this property reflects the beauty of Culver. Thank you, Chris Green, 423 North State Street. And this last one is Culver Plan Commission and Town Council. My name is Larry Geeson. My wife and I own a condo in Chadwick Shores, 1004 West Shore Drive, Unit 1. Writing in favor of the 6-unit townhome proposed development where City Tavern needs to be located. I think a townhome development would be the highest and best use for that piece of property in town. This piece of land is located in the residential part of town and it would be a better fit in a commercial business. If not approved, a more undesirable business could come in and not have to get approval if it were to be commercial in nature. Having a townhome in this location would also be better than the slab of concrete or empty building that has been there for years. A townhome would create a better sense of community compared to a commercial development. Homes and condos in Culver are at a premium, and anyone investing several $100,000 will take great pride in keeping the development well maintained. In closing, please vote yes to approve this townhome development for the betterment of Culver. Respectfully, Larry Geeson, Geeson Funeral Homes, Crown Point, Maryville, etc. And that, I believe, is all that I've received. I think there were a few people contacted me that had signed that first letter, but I had never received copies, and I let them know, and they were fine with not mentioning their names.
All right, we've heard from everybody. We appreciate all your concerns. This time, we will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second. Got a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now it's up to the members here. All right, I'll start with Mr. Fox. If you have any concerns that you would like to bring up.
No, I hope you can hear me. I think the project has been modified considerably. I mean, the density of the development has been cut nearly in half. I went to town hall yesterday to look at the large scale plans. I noted, for example, that the drainage plan is in place, and actually with the amount of green space being increased, the runoff is less than it is right now with the current asphalt and hard surface concrete that have been there before the demolition. So I also think that okay. I also think that multifamily residential, and having seen the elevations, the front facades, would be an attractive addition to the town that in some ways kind of evoke the spirit of downtown and those two-story buildings. So I think there's been some great improvements made since the last time. I too was concerned about sightlines. I saw those drawings yesterday and then went out and drove that route myself and kind of at least paced off the distance. Pacing it off, I think correctly, I could look down Lakeview and still see the theater. So my concerns about safety have been largely taken care of, and I'd be a yes on this project.
You're always supposed to be saying we're supposed to follow. Okay.
A complicated issue with a lot of opinions and feelings. I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather see this be kind of residential versus a commercial. I think it would fit a lot more in the area. And it'd be a lot worse in every way for the local residents, traffic, parking, noise, smell. And for those reasons, I'm gonna vote for it.
Have to say your vote.
No.
Just
Yeah, you don't have to say your vote.
Well, I don't think no matter what gets set up here is gonna make everybody happy, whether it's the developer or the public. My job, I work here for the town. I see a lot of problems. I personally see a lot of problems with all the streets in town. With this site, I think there's been some improvement on this. I think they went to some extent to make it better. I vote the council decides.
I feel that they've made some improvements. I would like to possibly see a little bit more done. Possible guardrail on the alley leading out into the street. Maybe speed bumps to mitigate the speed people can go down that drive. Different things that could go to further the safety of the area. But for the most part, having the garages now, so it's almost 2 units worth of parking, alleviates a lot of what's going to happen on the street. And like most new apartment complexes, you do have your parking spot and your garage. The new subdivision that's gone on in Plymouth, I've seen that. So they can park in the garage and have a friend come over or somebody else that lives in the residence park behind. And for units these sizes, having both a parking spot and a garage, it alleviates a little bit of the street parking. Well, significant amount because it's equal to, so.
I believe that the issues have been addressed, so I'll just wait to vote.
I agree with Andy. I think the developer has addressed a lot of the issues that a lot of the people complained about, especially the traffic flow, the ingress and egress from the property. And I think that's a really big deal, especially, you know, as we talked about the children and everybody along that highway or that street. And so I just leave it at that. Thank you.
Going from a C2 to basically a residential area, which is what it's surrounded by. C2, you could have just about anything you think of business-wise there. So from that standpoint, becoming residential is a good thing, which we've heard from some of the comments here. Excuse me.
I just want to ask
Do
a
you-
question when you're done.
Either one, have anything you want to say before
I just have a technical question.
I'll let both of you address this town manager and the building commissioner. So I'm gonna let them talk.
Yeah, I just have a technical question about the process because I think Jeff brought up the point about primary versus secondary. Just so I know, in terms of whatever happens with your vote, I would have to publish for the council hearing because ultimately the council makes a rezoning decision. So if this is approving a primary plan, my understanding too is there's not always a secondary plan. Is that correct?
This is primary and secondary combined. There will not be a secondary unless there need to be changes, and they would have to apply for a secondary hearing. But the PUD, the way it is, and actually, if you notice, there's not enough property to put any secondary plan on there. So
Point of order. That is not how your zoning code is written.
I'm sorry. Everybody's had their opinion.
Oh, let him speak.
I want to make sure from a technical standpoint that I know what to do post the meeting in terms of publication.
It'll fail in a.
We're not speaking to the public.
I think the applicants have done a good job in changing things that we've asked them to, the concerns that the citizens have. Will there be changes in the final plat come before it goes before town council? Yes, I would expect that to be done. The town council will vote on the final. And right now, we're voting on whether to change the zoning or not. That's it, not what they're making. Not exactly.
Once you approve it to a PUD, you lose all rights to protest it.
All right.
Per your BZA.
Excuse me. I appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and I know that we're about to actually vote. And the voting, I would reiterate what our town manager said. This is not a vote to approve. It's a vote to recommend to the council to approve. So it's not, this is not written in stone because the council has the final say. But I just want to say I appreciate it. I know this was a lot better than the last meeting, but I do want to say I do not. I mean, I'm a citizen here. I've been a citizen for several years. I've been on this planning commission for 22 years, and it's volunteer only. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm trying to let people know that we are all citizens of Culver. And I think there's been a lot of almost animosity toward people that are for it or for against it. And I think everybody here has that right and opinion. But I do not like to see anybody belittled because of the profession or comments about what they've been commenting. I have been called several things when I'm on this planning commission over 22 years, believe me. And all I have done is let it roll off my shoulders because I'm committed to coal. I'm not committed to any slanderous things towards me. So I just want all you people to know, I appreciate each and every one of you, your comments, your concerns. It's what we need, is your comments and concerns. I know there's a lot of things that were addressed and a lot of things that were made comments about that were not according to the ordinances. I know I will say at this time that a PUD used to be a multiple use, no longer is. It's not written as a multiple use. It's a planned unit development that enhances according to the comprehensive plan use for the housing, which is one of the major things that we have to look at as a housing. The PUD, as far as I know, there's people that came in with their ideas of PUDs, but PUD is a project is through a development that would enhance the use for the town, for the comprehensive plan. If everybody out here has read the comprehensive plan, I don't know how you can see that housing would not be according to the plan, but your concerns are very defined and legitimate concern. But there's things that with the traffic, I think we looked at the traffic. We've got the chief of police on here as far as knows about what the traffic is in town. I've got a speedway right down my road and there's nothing, we don't have enough officers to do what people want to play when they do it. I know you're talking about going backwards on a one-way street. That is illegal, but we don't have that decision trying to keep people from going the wrong way. We have a development that is proposed as far as what could or could not be as far as commercial. We're not addressing what's going in as commercial. We're addressing a PUD that's being proposed. I'm not trying to use any kind of politics to say one way or the other. But I just trying to everybody know that the job of this plan commission is a very hard job for every one of them. And I applaud every one of these members for the dedication that they have to what we are doing for the town of Colton and for the citizens. And you're right, Lake Maxine-Cuckee is #1 asset for Colton. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
And would you state your motion?
We should take a vote on whether or not we
We have to make a motion to recommend or not.
recommend, motion to recommend that we take a vote on the PUD proposal.
All right, I've got a first. Did everybody hear that proposal?
That was just a motion to make the vote.
A motion
To
to approve.
Okay.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, got the first and the second. Any discussion before we vote?
I just want to clarify for the record that the motion is to recommend to the town council.
To approve
rezone
recommendation,
PUD
correct.
for C2. Yes, okay, thanks.
For what recommendation? What? C2?
From C2.
From C2 to PUD.
PUD.
Yes. And we got first and the second. All right, or do we need to do a
And
roll
do a
call?
if you want, otherwise you can just call for the vote.
All right.
Roll call, roll call.
I'll do a roll call.
Start, Mr. Donpa,
Aye.
Mr. Miller,
Aye.
Mr. B.
I have a question.
Okay.
A little confused. We have one statement made that's going to make something commercial to a residential area. Isn't it the same thing? Or
It has to be for PUD.
PUD?
It's to change the C2 that is zoned now to a zoning of PUD.
Said I recommend to go to the council.
Okay.
So yes, I guess.
Oh, my goodness.
Sampson,
Yes.
Mr. Jettie,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. Goose,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes.
Guys violated your process.
be forwarded to the town council, which there will be a public hearing published, and everyone that here that's for or against, please come to the town council and express your ideas.
Do you want to give
Thank
them a
you very
date on
much.
that?
Pardon?
Do you want to give them a date?
No, we have to.
They have to be published and have to make sure it gets published in time. Okay.
No, because the meeting's not over yet.
That's something I'm gonna bring up.
What's that?
I wanna know about Kevin's fence.
Yeah,
I
I know. Yeah.
People, would please, wait till your conversations get out.
We still have a
Still
meeting.
have a meeting to finish up here. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is going to be a short report. With what was going on tonight, you know what we've been working on for the last month. So this is the biggest thing going on. We're looking at some changes in our zoning ordinance, but we'll talk about them at our next meeting when we have more time.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any questions for the building commissioner or any concerns?
I have a question regarding Kevin's fence. Where are we on that?
Did you hear that, Kevin?
Your fence, where are we at on that?
Have we heard any progress toward your fence issue?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Progress.
I was just wanting to know what was going on with your fence. Have you heard?
I've not heard anything, and the fence is still there.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
We will continue that with our attorney.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We've been doing some research on it.
they have been working on it, though,
Hopefully by our
Kevin,
next meeting.
with the attorney
Do people even live there?
and for your answer. Any more questions for the building commissioner?
Do we have anything going on the properties?
Unsafe buildings or,
Part of your
yeah, if it's those properties, we don't have jurisdiction over anymore because they're outside of our, yeah.
It's in the 2 mile zone, eh?
Yeah, but the county now has jurisdiction for unsafe buildings outside corporate
Right, but we
limits.
still have the zoning issues as well.
Yeah, so we can deal with zoning issues, we just can't deal
Right.
with unsafe.
And I know, like, have they moved their trailers off property lines, that are over the property lines, has any of that been moved, anything like that? Or do you have to wait on the court to decide what we can do the phone site before we can?
In the process of
In process of court. I just didn't know if we would,
through the county unsafe.
yeah, I didn't know if we would have to wait for the unsafe part, or they wouldn't be addressing
But it goes
some
to
issues.
town manager and I to be there. To represent on the other side.
Okay.
Be true.
Sorry, the unsafe and the zoning.
Yeah, and just as an update though, we have had the attorney, Jeanette Cerisi, has sent out letters for some specific properties, demo orders. I believe 8 of the properties are zoning nuisance orders. And there's a hearing date scheduled for May 24th for those people. And they have, I believe, till May 17th to meet the demand order. So if you're interested in any of that information, I can forward to you the list of properties that are under one of those orders. We are definitely going through the new unsafe building ordinance, and Jeanette is communicating via letters. And then if people need an extension or they want to have a hearing, if we've ordered a demo, they automatically get a hearing. Not ordered a demo and it's just a nuisance, they can still request a hearing, but they need to do so in writing.
Any more? I think that's everybody to me. But, only thing, I know we're gonna look at the ordinances. We're gonna do that. We'll put it on the agenda for next month. And we'll address that. And I think, Fox, I think we have to get the other minutes, whatever. Get those, get them signed. I don't know if I have a copy of the minutes, if everything's going on to sign tonight, but we'll get them signed next week. Now, another thing, like, this is another request. In report, is it possible, and we talked about it before, we get a written report as far as permits that were permitted for different properties as far as just permit property? I know, Mr. Mason used to have the whole, county, everything for us. But I don't think we need that accounting part or whatever, but we do need permits where they are. And the reason I bring this up, because I've had several people, I know, so-and-so has got a permit, what they're doing. I have no answer because I have no information to.
I can give you that monthly report. We get one from Marshall County listing all of the permits, what it's for, the amount of money, et cetera.
Yeah.
I will copy that.
I think it'd be beneficial. And we're here. As we go through town, we would. Right, I mean, yeah, well, Russ did an outstanding job with his reports, but I think a lot of that, I'm not scratching no back. But, no, you did, and I mean, you went far and beyond, because I know with the cost gains, what went to the county, what went to the town, what went to, fines, everything, you included everything as far as all your information, and I appreciate that 100%. But I don't think that as far as we need that, as long as you have it and it's going to the town. I mean, it's being
Russ, did
recorded.
you include that for like grass nuisance letters as well? Or
I'm sorry.
did you include fees in your reports for grass nuisance violations, stuff
No.
like that?
No.
Well, there were, I always included what the fines were and what they were for.
Okay.
I don't remember being any for yards or anything like that, because I thought the town had.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, because I do those, but Chuck
I
doesn't
wasn't
do
sure if they were
those.
combined either, but I didn't think they were, but Russ, you would know.
It's just if you find someone for violating a permit or,
Yeah, the building was prior
Most
to,
common fines were people doing things without a permit. That was the most common.
right,
okay.
and it was fairly common too, wasn't it? And that's all I have, so. Anybody out there, you have citizen input, but it'd be with concerning anything that we haven't discussed already tonight. So if you have any concerns. None? Everybody's too tired, right? All right. Commission members, you have any concerns? No. I have none to.
Wayne, you got something to say?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
That's next. Okay.
That's what he had to say.
That's what he had to
Yeah,
say.
that was his concern.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. We're done. 2 minutes.